So as we get into episode 12, we start off with the crew. They're walking on a mountain. But unfortunately, Frieren's exhausted and tired. She would pass out. Stark would offer to pick her up. Frieren would suggest for some reason that he not do it. And soon after, we go into a flashback of Frieren and the rest of the hero party. And the scene highlights them traveling to defeat the Demon King. But unfortunately, they don't get paid a lot for doing this. And as they talk amongst each other on their value and their pay, him and the hero say, well, let's go on an adventure. Let's take some regular missions to earn pay. And as he does so, he pulls out his blade. Frieren would then ask him, is that the hero blade? Heater would say, no, it's a fake. And as we move along, him will explain and give the lore on how he obtained this fake replica hero blade. He would explain that a merchant that he helped save gifted it to him and said, you're going to be a hero. He would take that as motivation, but he said he didn't think too much of it. And as he continues, he will reveal that Heater is the real reason why he wanted to become him with the hero. He says Heater challenged him and said that he wouldn't become one, and so that motivated him. He says, I'll defeat the Demon King and get the real hero blade. After this statement, the flashback would come to an end, and it would highlight Frieren. It would show her in total happiness, enjoying her comrades in this moment. After the scene, we would move to the present day. And as Frieren's carrying Frieren, she would wake up from this flashback. Her brain would still be murky, but she remembers that there's a village to the north of where they're traveling. And as they continue their journey, they would arrive at the village, and they would be met by a young lady. She's a child, but she would be the 49th chief of this village, the village of the blade, that is. And as the chief yells at Frieren for not arriving earlier, the next scene would highlight Stark and him explaining how the village got its name. He would go to explain that the name the village of the blade comes from this place being a safe haven that protects the hero blade. And as he continued to explain the lore, he would say that this special hero blade that was bestowed by the goddess for the longest time was stuck inside of this sanctuary, and no champions would be able to budge it. They couldn't pull it out. But 8 years ago, him with the hero is said to have done it. And after Stark gives the lore, they would arrive at their destination, the cabin that they'll be living in. And as they warm up and get comfortable, the chief of the village, she yells at Frieren and tell her, why did you come so late? You supposed to have been here earlier. Frieren would then brush her off and say, I'm just a few years later. No big deal. She would then ask the chief, what's the big deal? The people in this village have always protected the hero blade. Y'all can fend for yourselves. The chief will respond and say, that's right. But have you forgot your job, your task? And as they continue to talk, the anime lets us know that Frieren's past job was to exterminate monsters from this village. And while she's been away, they've been going on a rampage. And as they move along in anime, Frieren, Stark, and Frieren will work together, combining their talents and their magic, and would defeat all the monsters. But this wouldn't be the end, because the king of the monsters would arrive, and it seems like it's going to be trouble. And as it attacks, the dynamic trio of Frieren, and Stark is too good. They put BTA on the king monster, and they finally defeat it. But what happens next is insane. They would find out that what the monsters was attracted to was the hero blade that was hidden in a cave. This would be a huge shock, because Stark had believed that him with the hero had long ago took the blade. But this would be false, and Frieren would confirm this. Soon the anime goes into a flashback, and this flashback would show him when the hero fell and had taken the blade. He wasn't able to pull it loose. But this wouldn't stop his motivation. Him when the hero would say, this doesn't change anything. If I'm a fake hero or not, I'll still destroy the Demon King and bring peace up on the land. And just as he had said, him and the rest of the hero crew would defeat the Demon King. And after Frieren tells this story, Stark suddenly has a flashback of some sort, but the anime hides it from us. We don't know what it's about. And so we move along. The chief of the village would thank Frieren. She tells her that she came in a clutch and did a great job in protecting the village. Soon after, they would leave, and they would continue their journey. They would arrive at an inn in town, and the next scene highlights Frieren and Frieren talking. And as they're discussing their plans, Frieren would actually tell Frieren that it's Stark's birthday. She would be surprised and caught off guard. Soon they would discuss birthday presents for him. And Frieren would hilariously try to give him a potion that dissolves clothes. She would tell Frieren this is the perfect gift. Men are totally into those type of things. Frieren doesn't find it funny, and she pours this potion on Frieren. And after the funny scene, we move along to Frieren. She's looking around town, looking for Stark. And after talking to all the town people, she finds out that Stark has been a great person, helping out around town and doing trivial tasks. After searching and searching, she would finally find Stark, and as they're walking in town, she seems mad at Stark. Stark is confused. He asks her, "Hey, what's wrong? I'm sorry." Fern is thinking to herself, "How do I ask him what does he want for his birthday?" And after thinking about it, she finally just says, "What would you like for your birthday?" He would be dumbfounded and say, "Gifts for my birthday? That's never happened before." Fern would reply. She would be shocked and say, "Not even your family?" Stark would say no. He would go along and say he comes from a tribe of warriors, and those sort of things don't matter. The only thing matters is being strong. Soon after, he would go into a deep flashback. He would go into a story of his brother being a great warrior. His father revered him and thought so much of him. His name was Stoltz. And as he goes more into the story, Stark would describe his father thinking the total opposite about him. He sees Stark as a loser and a failure. But surprisingly, Stoltz, his brother, doesn't think that way. The anime showcases he truly loves his little brother, and he actually tries to teach him techniques to get better. Stark tells Fern he's the only person who truly cared about me. And as he's telling his story, Fern interrupts him to say, "The past is the past. You're a stronger person." She would then say, "Let's go get your gift." After they pick out his gift, they would arrive back at their inn. And surprisingly, Frieren has prepared them dinner, some Hamburg steaks. Stark would be excited. He would tell Fern, "These are a special meal. My master made me these birthday steaks." Stark would ask Frieren, "Why did she do this?" She would tell him, "Wait, Eisen didn't tell you?" This would spark a flashback in Frieren. It would be of Eisen cooking her this same steak. And in so many words, he would tell Frieren that he cooked her this steak because she's been giving it her all. He cooks these steaks for anybody he believes giving it their all and being a warrior. And after she tells the story to Stark, he would finally figure out why did he cook these steaks for him. He did it out of admiration for him giving it his all. This would suddenly give him a flashback of his brother doing the same thing, cooking these steaks for him. And as he ends his flashback, the anime showcases that his brother Stoltz caring for him so much because as demons attacked their village, he would tell Stark, "Go, survive, get out of here." And after the horror-filled story, the flashback would end and he would be eating the steak that Frieren prepared for him. She would tell him, "This recipe is from Eisen." He would enjoy it. Frieren would look happy and the anime would end.